we'd love to share 20 different strategies for lowering your electric bill. And the best part about these tips is they will cost you nothing. Hi, I'm Hope.
And I'm Larry.
From Under the Median. Welcome to Thrifty Thursdays, where every Thursday we share quick, easy ways that you can spend less and save more. This is part 3. It's the final part in a 3-part series where we've been sharing all month long ways that you can save small amounts of money by making small changes, but over time they add up to really big money. So we're going to get started on the program today. There are 20 different ways that you can lower your electric usage. But before we jump into these 20 tips, I wanted to say that we've received a lot of really great questions on the first 2 parts of this video series. And so we want to address those questions. And not only that, we have had some fantastic tips sent in by the viewers. And some of them are so amazing that I really want the opportunity to share some of those. So what we thought we would do is in a couple of weeks, we will do an unofficial 4th part of the series. And we're going to take that 4th program and answer your questions. And we are going to share highlights of the tips that you send in. So if you have some great ways that you know that you can save money, specifically the 3-part series, the first week we focus on ways to save on laundry. And the second week we focused on the kitchen.
Right.
And now this week we're focusing on electrical costs. So if you have great strategies that when you watch all 3 parts of the series and think, oh, that's a really great way to save money, but she didn't mention it, make sure that you leave that, will you, for us in the comment section of the video, because we're going to compile all those. And then the 4th week we'll answer your questions and we will highlight viewer suggestions. All right, Larry, let's hop into it. Okay. Tip number 1.
Tip number 1 is turn off the lights when you leave the room. That's kind of an obvious one, isn't it?
So I want to know, how many times a day do you all tell your kids that? For us, we have grown-up children, and we're still turn the light off, turn the light off. It's like that thing that parents chant just over and over again.
Do you remember that little round button that I had on our light switches on Wilcox, and it said turn off the lights? Do you remember that?
Yeah. He had a little, it wasn't a sticker. It was like a little thing you hung on the wall right above the light switch.
Yeah, we can show it. I still have it. Actually, I know where it's at. But that was a reminder to help us to just turn off lights that we're not using. It's so easy to leave lots of lights on. And I'm kind of a proactive person when it comes to that. I hate seeing extra lighting on a room when you don't need it.
Now, we're going to tell you why this matters. Because if you're like us, you've switched all of the light bulbs in your house. Incandescent went out a long time ago, right? Compact fluorescent, it's gone too. And now we're all switching to LEDs, which do use very little electricity. So I know some of you, and I was too before I did the research on this, thinking, well, what difference does it really matter? It's just a light. It's using 7.5 or 15 watts or whatever. Well, Larry's going to tell you because I did the math.
Well, an LED bulb, most of them are about 10 watts, and they'll use about 1 cent per hour per bulb. Now, that does add up. You add the hours up, that does get into some costs.
Okay, so I'm going to give you my example. Let's say arbitrarily 5 light bulbs around your house and they're left on unnecessarily 5 hours a day. Now, it can be a combination of light bulbs, whatever. All right. So that actually adds up to just 25 cents a day of wasted electricity. But when you extrapolate that out over the course of a year, Larry, tell them how much that actually costs them in a year.
$90 a year.
$90 a year.
And it gets down
5
to
light bulbs, 5 hours a day.
$7.50 a month.
Yep. $90 a year. Now you know why we're telling you small changes add up to large amounts of money. $90 is nothing to sneeze at. All right. Tip number 2.
Unscrew unneeded light bulbs.
Okay, this comes with a caveat.
Well, let's explain it first.
Okay.
If you have a fixture, we have 2 fixtures in our home that use 3 to 5 bulbs. Well, we don't need all those bulbs just to light up the room or to serve our purpose. So in our kitchen downstairs, we have 3 bulbs. Well, we'll unscrew 2 of them and just use 1, unless we need more lighting for some more specialized things. But just for doing dishes and other things like that, we don't need all those. So you can unscrew some bulbs and save some money. Our dining room light fixture has 5. I'll unscrew at least 2 of them, and really the loss of lighting really isn't that noticeable.
Okay, so you're not going to notice the difference. And the question is, does this really make a difference? Well, the answer is yes and no. It makes a difference if you are unscrewing light bulbs in fixtures that you actually use. If you have a formal dining room and the only time you walk in there is like on Thanksgiving and Easter and Christmas when like grandma and the whole crew come over, then, you're not saving a whole lot because you're not using it anyway. But what we're talking about, these are light fixtures we use daily. We use them all the time. They're in major rooms of our home. So in that case, yes, unscrewing unneeded light bulbs does save you some cash.
Right. The next thing is something that's, I think, practiced, and utility companies do talk about this quite a bit, and that's your thermostat. If you turn your thermostat up or down, depends on
I did it wrong. All right, say it again.
If you turn your thermostat, well, which way are you going to go? Up? Okay. So if you turn your thermostat up just 1 degree, can make the difference of 1 to 3%.
On your final bill.
Yeah.
All right. So practical example. I actually did this. Larry does not know I did it. I'm going to see if he noticed. Like a week ago, I turned the central air up 2 or 3 degrees. I don't know, but I turned it up 3 degrees. Have you noticed a difference?
The basement cools really well, so I don't.
Okay, he has not noticed the difference. 3 degrees, I turned it up, and that was a week ago. So 3 degrees, and if that saves us an average of 2%. Remember, every degree will save you 1 to 3%. So let's just say that it's going to save me an average of 2% for each degree that I turned it up. That's 6% on my final bill. So the question is, mathematically, what does that look like? The average bill for heating and cooling combined in the United States of America is how much per month?
$175.
Right, $175. So that means on that bill, you are actually going to lower that bill by 6%, which translates to, can I do my drum roll?
Yeah. I can probably find a sound effect for that.
No, they like my drum roll. Okay, how much per year are they going to save?
$126.
All right, that is good money, guys.
Yeah.
Number 4, and this is another one of those ones where we say it cautiously, is
get an hourly rate electric plan.
Now, some of you have commented in the past that actually you do this. You have an electric utility company that offers you the opportunity to save some money. Let's say you do your laundry at 9 o'clock at night instead of 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's going to be a lower electric rate. Many utility companies, it's a flat rate. Ours offers us the opportunity to enroll in a program where we do pay an electric hourly rate. It has saved us big money in the past. We've been on it for 3 years, and we have saved an average of 13% across the board each month on our utility bill until 3 or 4 months ago.
Well, we were doing pretty good when we had the electric car, because the electric car would charge, I deliberately would charge the car at the lowest time that those rates were in effect. So it was charging between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. And well, we don't have the electric car anymore. We're using 2 gas cars. So we no longer have that perk. Now, I have to say, though, I will throw a load of laundry in sometimes at 2:30 in the morning. If I just happen to be up, I'll just throw a load through because I know that's about the cheapest time to run it. But I don't think that we're using enough electricity now to get the benefit of the extra cost of that electric hourly plan. It does cost, what is it, about $2.30?
It's $2.50 a month.
$2.50 a month just to be on that program.
So we'll report back and we'll let you know what we decide side. I did check with an expert, and that's actually one of my tips. We're going to give it much later in the program. But so I'm going to talk about like sourcing people that you can talk to that actually understand electricity and gas rates and how to save. And I did. I talked to a friend who does that for a living, and he said, just hold on until you get to winter and then see if you're not saving a bundle then. He feels like it's the summer electric rates that are actually just driving it up. So we'll see. So that is our tip, though, because we have enrolled in an hour electric plan, and it's been really good to us up until the last 3 or 4 months. So we shall see.
Yeah, and unfortunately, air conditioning is something you can't control it totally. You have to be running the air when it's the hottest part of the day, or you're going to be pretty warm in the house.
All right, this is one of Larry's favorite tips, y'all. Number 5, which is unplug appliances when not in use.
A lot of electrical appliances use what we call phantom power. Anything that has a timer, a clock, anything that
standby power, right?
Yeah, standby power, like a coffee pot. Now we use a coffee pot that has a clock on it. I set it to go off at 6 a.m. automatically every morning, so we have a pot of coffee, ready when we're getting up.
Well, yeah.
But there's so many. Anytime that you have those adapters, those transformer adapters, those are drawing some power all the time. And if you add those up to, say, I don't know, 10 or 15 in your home, that can really add up to some serious costs.
You know what it adds up to? This is average, guys. An extra $200 a month on utility bills. On your electric bill.
Isn't that amazing?
On your electric bill.
Yeah.
$200 a year.
Now, I want to just
say a month? A year.
A year.
$200 a year.
You said a year.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. Now, I want to just throw something in here that our utility company got us onto. They make a power strip now that'll have it's got like 5 outlets, just like a power strip does. One of the outlets is called the control. Mm-hmm. So you plug your main item into that. Let's say your TV set. You plug that into the control, and then you plug your other items into the rest of the receptacles. When the control item is shut off, it shuts off power to those other items. So you're not running phantom power on all the outlets. So that is a way to save a little bit of that money.
Cut your phantom power and save up to $200 per year. And as Larry mentioned, that coffee pots have all of these newer features on them.
They have a lot of perks.
They do. That was funny that they do all these things for you. But the truth is, just by leaving your coffee pot plugged in all the time, you could be spending an extra $20 a year on electricity.
I have to say, and I mentioned this to Hope, I'm not sure I'm willing to unplug my coffee pot every day and then have to reset the timer all the time. So this is something you're going to have to make a decision for yourself. What's worth it to you? Is it worth it to you to have automatic coffee, or do you not use it? If you don't use that feature, by golly, unplug it,
I got to say, okay, so first of all, I think we're going to let Larry keep his coffee pot plugged in, guys. I think we can all agree on that mainly because
I make coffee for her.
He makes coffee for me every morning. So I'm thinking it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, but speaking of coffee, that actually kind of segues nicely into our next tip, which we actually do. Even though we use the coffee pot and we leave it plugged in, we actually do this next thing, and it works really, really well. Now, I'm going to tell you throughout the course of this program, we actually are going to be mentioning some products that we use regularly and we really, really like. And our recommended products are going to be in the description section of the video. I'll put recommended products, and I'll list them all under there with links, so you'll be able to just click on the link and go to the products. This actually comes with a caveat for our next product.
And what's interesting about this product? I didn't get this to save money. I got this because I got tired of drinking coffee that was burnt on the coffee pot. You ever had like those bun coffee makers that are in restaurants, and you're the last person in there that day, and the coffee is just roached.
All you want is coffee, and it's really bad coffee.
Yeah. So as soon as that coffee is done brewing, I throw it into a series of about 5 little thermoses, and here's one of the very best ones. I'll hold that right up to the lens so you can actually see the brand. Yeah.
There we go.
But
Zoboshi.
I take this to work, and this will keep coffee hot for at least 10 hours, even sometimes.
And it'll be hot coming out of there.
Oh, it's hot all day.
One of our sons, we got both of our sons one of these for Christmas. We got them each one. We didn't make them share. We got them each one. And one of our sons was working a really late night one night, and he said it was like 10 or 12 hours after he had put the coffee in there in the morning. He said he opened it up and it was really fresh tasting and it was still warm. It was still hot. So these things work really, really well. We love those.
But that'll save you a lot of electricity, because when you're running the hot plate on your coffee maker, you're using a lot of power.
Absolutely.
That's probably using about 300 watts just to keep that going.
All right, number 7, check the temperature of your fridge. We're going to tell you exactly how to do it. But why is this important? What temperature, first of all, should their fridge be at?
Well, you ought to keep your refrigerator. Now, this is the refrigerator, not the freezer.
Not the freezer, the refrigerator.
Okay, so you want to keep that between 36 and 38 degrees. That's the safest temperatures for keeping food.
Don't let it go above 40, guys. In case you're wondering, that's like that magic number. It's like, what should I not have it above 40? 40 degrees is the answer.
And the only way you're really going to know what the temperature is to put a thermometer in it. So that is a refrigerator. I thought this was an oven thermometer, but that is
we actually have one for the oven that looks an awful lot like this. Okay, This is a refrigerator thermometer. We've had it for years. Yes, it's low tech, and yes, it works really, really well. I'm just saying.
What's the temperature range? So it goes from -20 up to 80. So you can use this in the freezer or the refrigerator.
That's right. So get yourself one of these. They're very, very inexpensive, and stick it in your refrigerator. Now, you should probably stick it not directly under one of the vents, because that's where the cold air comes out. It's going to be colder there than it is other places in your refrigerator. If you have a thermometer that will go somewhere between 80 degrees and 0 degrees, if it's a low temp thermometer and it's one of the bulb thermometers, here's what you want to do. You're going to get a glass and you're going to fill it with some water and stick it overnight on the center shelf of your refrigerator. Next morning, you're going to open up the refrigerator and immediately put that bulb thermometer in there, and whatever that registers, that's what it is in the refrigerator. You can't put it in there for a couple of hours. It needs to be in there at least 8 hours before checking the temperature of that water, and then that will also give you a pretty good feel for what it is. Your freezer should be at 0.
And I want to mention too, as you can see, this thermometer is clear up to 80. I don't know why it's 80. It's not 80 in this room.
I don't know.
But if your refrigerator,
it's because I turned the thermostat up.
It isn't that hot in here. But if your refrigerator is running at 80, you probably need a new refrigerator.
There you go.
Just saying.
All right. Tip number 8.
Oh, yeah, this is a good tip. Keep the refrigerator and freezer 75% full. Now, you're probably wondering, well, why does that make a difference? The difference is when you open the door. When you open the door, you're letting in the ambient air temperature from your room, and it's going to fill up those empty spaces.
Yep.
But if you've got a lot of things in your refrigerator, then it's going to keep it colder because you've got things in there that are refrigerator temperature. There's not enough room for all that air to get in there. So think about that. That's something that I never even knew till tonight.
And it does save you money. Here's another thing that saves you money in terms of your food, and that is organize your refrigerator and your freezer in categories. And if you want to know how I actually organize our freezer, I did a video on it. I showed you exactly how to organize your freezer. I'll make sure there's a link up above and in the description of this video. Why is that important? Because when you open the door, you don't want to stand there
and look
with
for
the door
things.
open.
Where is that
And look for things.
item at? Now, if you know right where it's at, you open the door, you grab it, you pull it out, you shut the door, and it's just maybe a 10-second or 20-second process at the most.
So you can find your food fast.
Yeah.
Find food fast.
Yeah.
I like the way that sounds. Find food fast. Now, speaking of finding food fast and opening the refrigerator door, that's the next tip. Don't open the refrigerator door unless you absolutely have to. This is another one of those tips where people think, what possible difference? It doesn't cost much energy to open your refrigerator door. What possible difference is that going to make to me after some time? So we're going to tell you exactly what difference that it makes, because experts have figured out exactly what it costs to open your refrigerator door.
Well, opening the door can use 7% of your annual energy usage. And some experts say it can be as high as 10 to 14%.
Yeah, unbelievable. Just from opening your refrigerator door. Okay, this is your freezer. You have an automatic ice maker? Turn it off. Turn it off. And then just make it in the little cubey trays. Why? Why does that make a difference, Larry? What are they spending per year just to have their automatic ice maker
Well,
turned
you're
on?
using between 14 and 20% just to run that little ice maker. And that's quite a bit just for a little additional convenience.
Store food properly. Don't put them in there. Open containers of liquids. Put items that like to be nice and cold, like apples. Apples like it literally just above freezing. So they really need to go in the crisper drawer. That's what the crisper drawers are for. Make sure you're storing the items in the refrigerator, in the sections of the refrigerator they need to be stored for optimum, what would you call that? For optimum shelf life. For optimum shelf life.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Number 13, you don't want to use your refrigerator to cool warm items down. For instance, if you've just recently baked something, maybe you've had it sitting on the stove for a little bit and it's cooled down some, but if it's still pretty warm to the touch, don't put it in your refrigerator because that's going to cause it to have to work really hard to cool that item down.
This, in case you're wondering, is my walk of shame. It's all right. I told him he could publicly call me out on it.
And I told her I wouldn't do that.
I know it. So he sort of danced around it while I looked
No.
really chagrined.
No.
I am so guilty of this. Somebody tell me in the comments. Give me an amen or something. If you also are guilty, look, if it's 10 o'clock at night and the soup's still warm, I put it in there, and I know that I shouldn't. And it does cost significantly more energy for the refrigerator to cool down that item, even when it's warm. Even when we think it's cool enough, it needs to be cool, room temperature cool.
Do you know what I've done sometimes in the wintertime?
Tell
I
me.
bet she doesn't know this. I have taken some of those, like maybe soups or whatever. We have a table out on the back patio. I'll just take them and put them on the table. As long as it's covered, you're okay. I don't want an animal to get into it. But and I've done that and let it cool down and then bring it in, then stick it into the refrigerator, and it's not going to cause a
So it'll
problem.
cool down faster.
Yeah,
Oh,
it'll
he
cool
does
down.
that before he goes to bed.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So
Yep.
you don't leave it out there overnight.
And I don't
That
forget
kinda
about
scared
it.
me
You
for a
don't-
second, guys.
No,
I'm like,
no. Just for an hour or two at the most. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you live in the country, I mean, you can't do that probably.
Well,
I mean, there's a lot of animals
If
out
you've
there.
got let's say you've got a screened-in porch or something, and you could put it on. You can tell if it's safe or not.
This is one that most people, I bet, don't do. Tip number 13.
Oh,
14. Tip number 14, guys, if you're counting.
The next item is that you want to vacuum down the coils on your refrigerator. These are usually on the back or they're on the bottom. But if they're all filled with gunk and dust, they're working harder because really what they do is they dissipate the heat. The heat has to go
right,
somewhere.
right.
So if they're not able to do that, they're not going to work as efficiently. The recommendation is to do that twice a year. Is that what you said?
2 to 3 times a
Two
year.
to-
But
2 to
tell
3
them
times.
how often your father did it.
Well, I believe my dad did it about once a month. He would go in there. It didn't take him long. For one, they didn't get that dirty in a month, so he just would take a vacuum or a brush and brush those out. And I do periodically clean ours.
Yeah, I do too. I've
Yeah.
pulled it out. I've pulled the refrigerator out because they're on wheels and done it too.
Yeah.
So tell us in the comment section, do you vacuum your refrigerator coils? But here's the deal, guys. Larry's going to tell you how much it saves you. Here's why it's important, because sometimes this is one of those long forgotten things that people just think, I didn't even know I should do that. What's it save them by doing that?
Well, you can reduce your energy usage by up to 30% just by
30%
keeping your refrigerator.
of the energy that your refrigerator normally uses.
Yeah, by keeping it clean.
Yeah.
It works more efficiently. I imagine the appliance will last longer too because it's not working as hard.
Tip number 15, we're still in the kitchen. We're moving back to the stove. We spent a lot of time last week in the program talking about the stove use. One of the things I didn't mention is that when you're cooking, you know what you should have on top of your pots? Lids. Use lids as often as possible. And I think this is another one of those things people just kind of forget. They don't think about it. Something that has a lid on it is going to heat up considerably faster than something which does not have a lid on it. So it does save you money.
And it'll cook faster. You just
Absolutely.
want to make sure it's not going to boil over. Now there are some things you can't leave a lid on for, but if you can cook it with the lid, it's like a little oven. Really, it acts like an oven then with a lid on it. So it holds that energy that's escaping out the top.
I am notorious for cooking pasta by sound. You start listening for that. You're like, oh, I need to get up and go running in there in order to grab the lid off the pot before it boils all over your stove. So
Yeah, and we have cooked by using the smoke detector.
a time or two, I have to admit.
Times.
Last week was not a good. The smoke detector didn't go off, but yeah, it was not. The stir fry was less than appealing, I will say. We ate it, but it wasn't fun. It was not fun at all.
I was smelling something. It smelled like somebody was doing some outdoor barbecuing. Only it was Hope's stir fry on the stove.
I was really overly tired, and I just walked in, sat down by him, started talking to him. And I went,
Hope, what
shoot.
is that smell?
Tip number 16. This has to do not with the cooktop, but with the oven.
Well, this kind of runs along the same lines as your refrigerator. If you're going to use your oven, try to fill it up, and it'll be a more efficient use of your oven. Simple as that.
Okay, tip 17. We're up to heat and water. Here's what people don't realize about your water heater. There are 3 things that comprise the vast, and I do mean vast majority of your heating and cooling bill, or of your entire utility bill. Heating, cooling, and water heating. Seriously, those are the top 3. And they come in, actually, I think it's heating first, then water heating, and then cooling. I think cooling statistically is actually, it depends a little bit on where you live. If you live in Texas or Arizona, you're going to spend a lot of money on cooling. But yeah, running your water heater costs substantially more money than people think it does.
You know, I don't like keeping our hot water heater all that hot. I don't like the idea of turning on the hot water and getting scalded. So we really don't keep it that hot.
All right, tell them what they should keep it at, though.
Well,
the
recommendation is 120 degrees.
Yeah. Now, normally when they're factory set at 140 degrees, guys, just in case you're wondering. So you need to cut it back to 120 degrees. And if you're going to be gone for a few days, it should be on standby or vacation mode. Your water heater should say one of those. It's the lowest water heater setting. Basically, it's just keeping it, a little bit warm while you're gone. You don't want to pay while you're gone on vacation to heat it water.
I actually turned ours off while we were gone on our vacation.
I didn't know that.
I turned it off. It was just. The pilot, I think, was running, and that was it. So we weren't using any. Then we had to turn it on, let it all kind of heat up before we took a shower that night. But
we spent the first week of this 3-part series in the laundry room. I just wanted to circle back around and remind you once again, while we're talking about water, that cold water is what you want to use for as much of your laundry as humanly possible. Mm-hmm. Because that actually will save you a significant amount of money. The first week in this series showed you 4 ways that you can basically cut your cost of doing laundry in half by making 4 small changes. I'm going to make sure that is linked over there in the description of the video.
The other thing you can do is look online for free facts, tips, and information on how you can save money. There's a lot of good online resources you can go to for this.
Now, I told you near the beginning of the video that we were a little unhappy that the hourly utility rate that we've been on for several years and been saving money consistently using, all of a sudden the past 4 or 5 months, we're not saving as much money. So I told you I reached out to an expert. Here's what I did. In Illinois, you need to check in your community or in your state or in your country and see if there isn't some agency, generally it's a not-for-profit, that actually helps people figure out how to save money on their heating and cooling bills. In Illinois, it is Citizens Utility Board, CUB for short. So I reached out to my buddy Scott over there and said, hey, take a look at my utility bill. Now, this is one of the things that they will do for absolutely free. They will look at anybody's utility bill and they will tell you where you're being overcharged, what charges could be dropped, what you could do to actually save money physically on your bill every single month. And they are a great advocacy group. So look in your area and see if you can't find some organization that acts on behalf of the customers and not the utility company. But we would be amiss if we did not talk about said utility company for our next tip. I actually am a huge proponent of getting to know your utility company website. I have said repeatedly that one of the first things people need to do is make sure that they create an online account with your utility company. Not necessarily because you want to pay online, but because you want to be able to get access to the behind the scenes of your billing. What it does is it allows you to go directly into your weekly, monthly, hourly usage and be able to see exactly in real terms what your usage looks like on a day-to-day basis. I have used this repeatedly, especially if we're trying something new to see if we can't nudge the needle of our utility usage down, not up or stagnant, right? And so if I'm trying something new, I'm going to try it a few days and I'm going to go physically into the back end of my account and look at our usage and compare the week in which we were trying the new strategy to the week before and see if there's any difference in our usage. The only way that you will know if you are saving money or using less energy is to be able to quantify it, to look at it somewhere in some written form. And utility company generally allows you to do this. That's the power of being able to familiarize yourself with your utility company website and knowing exactly what tools are in there that will allow you to look at your energy usage and also to lower your energy usage. Now, if you want to know more about how you can save on energy, I actually have a free resource for you. And you know I love doing free resources for you. I have a home energy checklist that I am happy to send to you. There's going to be a link to it in the description of the video. Now, if you have actually missed one of the first 2 videos in this series, well, you're in luck because we have the first 2 parts linked right over there, and you probably should go click on those, and that should be the next thing that you watch. Before you leave us, make sure that they are what?
Make sure you're subscribed and hit the notification bell so you'll get notices when we do new videos.
And we will see you all next week on the next edition of Under the Median.